Good afternoon. Monday, March 23rd, 2026. This is the special joint meeting of the Board of Commissioners and the Redevelopment Commission, and we'll ask for a roll call, please.
Rob Henderson,
Here.
Kevin Walls, on his way.
On his way, yeah.
Ron West,
Yeah.
Jason Taylor,
Here.
Michelle Graves,
Here.
and Scott Alexander.
Here. Thank you. So we do have a quorum, and understand that Commissioner Walls will be here, and when he arrives, we'll read his name into the record.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, first up, on the agenda, consideration of approval of the
I think you said March 23rd meeting to start with.
Yes, I'm sorry. So today's meeting date, apologize, everybody, is May 26th, and we are 2026, May 26, 2026. And first on the agenda, consideration of approval of the meeting minutes from March 23rd, 2026. Were there any questions, comments, or changes? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Ron and a second from Jason. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda, ratification of Peters Franklin LTD invoices number 16685 and 16708. Both were in your packet. Would entertain any questions or a motion.
I'd just like to say that Jeff Peters and Mike Reuters are really good people, and they do a great job for the county and quite reasonable, I would think. So I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Ron. For your first, I have a second from Michelle. Any questions or discussion on the ratification? All right. With that, we'll entertain a motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, that passes. Thank you. Next is approval of the HWC engineering invoice number 2500-075-A-6, which is also in your packet, related to our flood work analysis along our TIF area. Any questions regarding that invoice?
If I'm reading this correctly, Rob, I do believe this is the final billing for that project and will be paid in full.
That's my understanding as well.
That's our understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Given that, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Michelle, for your first, Ron, and your second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, that passes. Thank you. Next up will be consideration of approval of our 2026 report of no excess assessed value. And Mr. Jeff Peters from Franklin LTD is here to present that.
Oh, man, I didn't know Jeff was there. I'll take that comment.
I appreciate that, Ron. Thank you all for being here. Jeff Peters from Peters Franklin. One of the things you're required to do as a redevelopment commission is every year prior to June the 15th to make a determination if you can release any of the assessed value that you are currently capturing as increment for the ensuing year, which will be paid 2027. If you could release any of that back to the tax base, or whether you need to retain it for your projects that you have identified. So the analysis that we've provided for you looks at the 3 years of 25, 26, and 27 for both the I-65 allocation area and the I-69 allocation area. And you can see in the I-65 area, you started the year with about $224,000 in cash. You're anticipated to collect about $28,000. If you did not make any expenditures, you would have about $252,000. The projection for revenue in 2027 is the same as 2026 because we don't have any better data at this point in time. And in that 27 column, we have the $40 million that you identified in your initial declaratory resolutions, projects that you wanted to undertake in that area. Therefore, the ending balance at the end of 27, if you collect those incremental revenues, you're still about $39.8 million short of what it was you identified and wanted to undertake as a redevelopment commission. So therefore, our determination would be you do not have any excess assessed value that you would want to return to the tax base at this point in time. Same scenario with I-69, you would be anticipated to end 26 with about 343,000 in cash, which still leaves you $39,600,000 short. That I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? Very good. With that, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the report, 2026 report of no excess assessed value.
So moved.
Thank you. We have a first motion by Jason Taylor
Second.
and a second by Michelle Graves. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, that carries. Thank you. And Jeff, if you'll stay up there and introduce the Redevelopment Commission annual presentation to taxing units, please.
Yes, one of your other annual requirements of the Redevelopment Commission is to present to the underlying or affected taxing units of your Redevelopment Commission TIF allocation areas certain financial information. And the three primary components that you have to present is the commission's budget with respect to allocated property tax proceeds, the long-term plans for the allocation area, and the tax impact for each taxing unit. So first graph is cash flow, long-term financial plans for the allocation areas. Again, this is a blown up version of what was just in your annual AV pass-through. And it's that same premise. Of the property tax proceeds that you've been allocated, you have accumulated those towards these $80 million of projects that you're looking to undertake as opportunity and money provides itself. So looking at, again, that you are negative at the end of 2027, you need to continue to collect those incremental revenues into future years. And this would show the your use in the budget with respect to those allocated property tax proceeds. The commentary in the next page lays out what I just explained there, as well as a list of all the projects that you had identified in your declaratory resolutions. And those, of course, would make up your long-term plans for both of those allocation areas. And we try and put these reports together so that they are standalone, so that if during the course of the year, an underlying taxing unit or a taxpayer comes to you and says, hey, you know, what is your impact on my unit of government? This is something you can deliver to them. Hopefully they can work through it and understand what that impact is. Then we have a series of tax impacts, starting with Clark Township. And if we could, I'd like to go to the last one, which is I-69 White River Township. And then kind of walk you through that one. So in the top section, we look at what would be the impact to the tax rate of you abandoning your redevelopment commission projects, allowing the assessed value that you currently have the right to capture as increment and releasing that back to the tax base. Because that's really your only option at this point in time. You continue with what it is you've set out to do, or abandon it, give it back, or you can give back some fraction thereof. So the overall impact for those underlying units of government are shown with the units of government listed on the left side: Johnson County, White River Township, Center Grove Schools, Johnson County Library, White River Fire, and Johnson County Solid Waste. Then we've got the assessed values from 2026 and the tax rates for each of those units of government. The sum of all those units of government tax rates are 1.8544. So that would be the taxing district that encompasses your area in White River Township. Of those tax rates at 1.8544, there are 6.66 cents of that are rate-driven funds, not impacted or regulated by the maximum levy. 3 1/3 of those cents are attributable to Johnson County in their cumulative capital development fund. 3 1/3% or 3 1/3 cents is attributable to White River Township Fire for their cumulative fire building and equipment fund. The center section 2026 TIF AB is approximately 3.593 million. So that is what you're capturing and what you could potentially release back to the tax base. If you were to release that 3.593 million back to the tax base, the rate would be anticipated to drop from 1.8544 to 1.8535, which is the rate to the far right-hand column. If you were to do that, that lowered tax rate would mean that fewer properties would qualify for the 1%, 2%, and 3% tax caps, and would therefore net collect more property tax dollars to the different units of government. In the center section, there's an outlined estimate reduction to circuit breaker. We would estimate that amount at $214, and that would be proportionately shared between those underlying units of government based on property tax. So Johnson County would pick up an extra $33, Center Grove $127, Johnson County Public Library $7, White River Township Fire $45, and the solid waste $1. The bottom section lays out if you were to release that assessed value back to the tax base, the Johnson County unit of government through its CCD fund would get to impose additional property tax dollars in the imposing its 3 1/3 cent rate across that $3.6 million. And it would yield approximately $1,197 in property tax, $96 in other taxes. Remember, anytime we levy $1 property tax, we have additional taxes that follow that, such as vehicle excise taxes, commercial vehicle excise taxes, bank personal property taxes. So total impact of them would be approximately $1,292. For the White River Fire District, there's a special statutory carve out for fire districts and territories that they get to collect that property tax as a pass through. So there's no impact there. But the bottom right-hand corner shows you total circuit breaker and tax impact for those units of government in the White River area is $1,506. The commentary on the next page, again, is that explanation so that you can send this out as a standalone document. And then the last paragraph is what I always like to leave with for redevelopment commissions and taxpayers alike to consider. For 2026, in the I-65 areas, you're anticipated to collect about $28,000, where if you gave that back to the underlying tax base, those units of government would only recognize about $1,000. In the I-69 area, you're going to collect a little over 52,000. If you gave it back, they would only see about $1,500 in impact. So if the redevelopment commission is undertaking projects that are meaningful and you're looking to flesh out infrastructure, et cetera, on those areas and get commercial development, you're going to grow the pie in its entirety and benefit them multiples of what it is that they're giving up at this point in time. And I always think that's good to consider as to, why you do this, what is the impact, and this is the only mechanism that you have where you can collect that type of dollars from all those units of government for that small amount of impact. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions from the RDC members?
What's the estimate as these areas build out in future years on the tax revenue that these taxing entities would be giving up?
We haven't built out any models. At present, you're collecting very little. And it'll depend, of course, on what are those developments. Will they be box warehouses like at Franklin and 65? Or will they be something manufacturing related, which would be markedly different
Right.
Assessed values and would have different impacts. Also, they'll require different incentives. Manufacturing typically is pretty heavily incentivized in order to get that project here rather than somewhere else.
Thank you. All right. Jeff, thank you very much. Council was advised this is no actions needed, so we appreciate the presentation, the information, and all the work you assist us in completing. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Very good. Next on the agenda, old and new business. Any old business to come? Jeff Peters.
Good. Last time we were here, we talked about the abstract and the reduction of potential incremental AV and revenue paid 2026 versus paid 2025. And we were tasked with continuing to investigate that. We've done some analysis, gone back and forth with the vendor, continue to get the mathematical answer of how this resulted. I sent back a rather sharp email as to, I don't need to know the math, I need to know why. Is there options that could have been taken that we could have minimized this? Are there options in the future that we need to consider taking to bring up our TIF revenue? If so, what are those impacts, et cetera? And at that point in time, the vendor said that they did not have time at this moment to do it and sent us to the DLGF for some additional follow-up. And potentially after these tax collection deadlines, we'll get back with the vendor as well. We have forwarded all our concerns to the DLGF. Budget director is looking at it. She reported back to us that she hasn't forgotten about us, but has other reports and such that she has to punch out first. So at this point, we are waiting to hear back from the DLGF, hopefully on those answers. And then we will circle back with the vendor, but we'll certainly report back to you as we get that information. Again, what I'm looking for from them is, why did it happen? Was it legislative? Was it software? If it was legislative, need to see exactly how those statutes read. And if it's related to SEA 1, we have a whole series of incremental impacts on 1% and 2% property that are going to occur between now and pay 2031. We have a big plateau of a hit that's going to affect pay 2027 for business personal property valued at $2 million or less. So I want to try from them to get an understanding if it's legislative, how are those impacts going to hit? Because obviously, if you lost 75% of your revenue in the first year, you're going to be underwater next year. And at that point in time, we probably want to reconsider what are those parcels that you're capturing in order to continue to provide redevelopment commission revenue. If it's not that, then we need to understand, was it a software change? If so, who initiated that? Was it just administrative from DLGF? Was last year's abstract actually an error, being that it was so much higher than this year's? But it was fairly consistent with the year before. So again, as soon as we flesh those out, we'll report back, but wanted to tell you that it is still underway and kind of waiting for DLGF budget director to get back to us at this point.
I have one question, Jeff. I know we're using the word vendor.
Yeah.
Is this vendor, someone that is being paid for by Johnson County government?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you're not the only county that we have some of these questions on, so.
Well, I guess my thought process is if they're not inclined to respond in a timely manner, we can take steps on our end to help facilitate that.
They did respond in timely manner until we got to the difficult questions. And they still responded in timely manner, but until I know what the answers are, I don't know if they really can't answer that question or if they chose not to.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anything else for Jeff on that follow-up? Very good.
Thank
Thank you. We'll read into the minutes that Kevin Walls did join us. Kevin, we're in the old new business section of the agenda. And Jeff had just given us an update on the abstract investigation matter. I guess we'll call it that. Very good. Any other old business to come before us? All right, anything new?
Oh, not you.
All right.
I've got some new.
Oh.
So last week I met with a couple of gentlemen downtown Indianapolis that are looking into data centers, and they wanted to know how Johnson County felt about data centers. And so I was happy to meet with them. A good meeting. The thing we talked about primarily, of course, was what kind of benefit could a data center bring to the county, especially to the taxpayers and the utility users. We talked through a number of things there. But one of the things that I pointed out to them was that our HWC study on our floodplain and the potential there for some massive earthwork, including canal concept into a large reservoir as a way to mitigate the buildup in the floodplain areas to make it developable. And they thought that was an intriguing concept and something that maybe a data center could provide, as well as some other things. So in the due course of conversation, they asked if I could share that HWC report. And that's the reason I'm bringing it up with the board here to see what your feelings are on this. I think it's public information anyway. So, but I wouldn't want to do it without the board's consideration. But I think it would be worthwhile. The data centers are going to come. And if there's an opportunity for Johnson County to avail itself of one or more in an appropriate and constructive and beneficial manner, obviously we would want to look at that. I did some research, obviously, on data centers. I was surprised to find out that the state of Ohio has 232 data centers. And some of them, one of them in particular I looked at was in an industrial or commercial area. It was on a corner of an intersection. probably, I'm guessing maybe 500,000 square foot building, but aesthetically it was just a beautiful building, windows and nicely landscaped. And I thought, that was a pleasant surprise because most of these I envisioned being just a block or solid concrete wall with no aesthetics. So anyway, I need for you guys to add to that discussion and let me know your feelings on sharing that report.
So I did have a conversation with Aspire a couple of weeks ago on data center, that there are inquiries out there with respect to Johnson County, and they were seeking some, I guess, guidance or feedback from the elected officials within the county on data centers. So that was kind of a follow-up, I guess, request of Aspire to provide some feedback. As to the report, I think we're trying to figure out, Ron, or Tiffany, if you got an update.
So the report was presented to us in an executive session. But even if it wasn't, I would speak with HWC first because it is their proprietary information. So we'd want to get permission from them if they would release that, if they would be okay with releasing it to a third party, because it wouldn't technically be a public record. But you can always waive that with permission, if that's what they'd want. But, I would want to check with them first.
I didn't get who you say to check with, Tiffany.
HWC.
What you said, Ron, it was presented to us in executive session. So she's gonna check with HWC, see if it's prioritory or not. So she'll have to get some input back from HWC before we can make that determination.
Yeah, that's fine. We own it. I'm not sure that they have purview over the usage of it. But anyway, that's fine. And there's no rush on providing it to the gentleman that I met with. In fact, matter, it was through Aspire, Rob, that they contacted me.
Very good.
And I mentioned to the other two commissioners if they were in agreement with me meeting with them, and we being the commissioners share the same thoughts and vision for the county on data centers. If it's beneficial, then we're willing to look at it.
Very good. Well, thank you, Ron, for bringing that to our attention, and appreciate the communication you had with them, and we'll figure out what we can do with that HWC report.
I'll get with them and then email the board on how you want to proceed.
Very good. Thank you. Any other business? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So I moved. I'll at least do something out here.
Good job, Kevin.
Pull it in at the end.
Motion,
I'll second it unless somebody else already did.
motion to adjourn has been made.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Okay.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
See all of you.